Good afternoon. My name is Karel Barták. I was invited to be with you this afternoon because I used to be responsible for the Creative Europe program at the European Commission. For a couple of years, I was responsible for the, let's say, the political part of the program, and then I worked at the executive agency running the everyday business with the Creative Europe program. We used to work together. I was there when MeetFactory was awarded the first contract. Yes. And we launched some of the novelties with the Creative Europe program. Well, I will try to explain to you. I was prepared for a presentation in Czech, so my slides are in Czech. Those who don't understand Czech will be discriminated, but I will try to somehow remember a little bit my English. I left the European Commission and the agency 5 years ago. I retired 5 years ago, so for 5 years I have not been dealing with this, you know, so just your indulgency if by coincidence I am not able to answer all your questions which might be concerning the current shape of the program. So, well, just to begin with, culture is not a European issue. You know that the European Union is not responsible for culture. Culture is a part of those sectors which are the exclusive national competence. And the EU has basically nothing to do with culture. It's national competence. What the EU is doing is what they call the open method of coordination. That means that they bring together people dealing with culture, the culture ministers. They meet once a year, usually quite formal meetings, and they decide that they would be doing some things, coordinating some things together, like the European Capitals of Culture. You know, there are some prizes which are awarded at the European level. There are some topics which are done at the European level in the area of mixed competence, like copyright, which of course have a direct impact on culture, but they are not culture per se. They are not arts and culture. So, and then besides this, there is the political decision by the member states and the European Parliament to have a program. And this program is called, since the last 2 periods, Creative Europe. And it brought together the former media program, which was separate, cinema, and the culture, the so-called culture program, and became Creative Europe. And little by little, it somehow gained a little bit in importance. Yeah. So media, by the way, was founded back in the 90s already, and nobody remembers anymore today why it was called media, because it's very confusing. Cinema is not media, and still today, after 30 years of existence of this program, you have people who apply for journalism and so on because they think that this program is focused on media, which is not the case. But it is a trademark. It is important, so it has stayed this way. I will try. Yeah. So it says that this is the unique program of the European Union, which is focused exclusively at the support of culture and creative sectors. So it is one of those programs in the European Union which focus on people, basically, and at the political level it has a certain kind of appeal and importance because people are aware that, of course, culture has an impact on people, has an impact on the public opinion, and together with the family of educational programs and some others, it is one of those programs we want to kind of, you know, be an incentive for people that they travel, that they overcome the fragmentation in the European space, that they overcome the language barriers, that people meet and do things together, that people, prepare projects together, that people travel to see performances and culture in the other countries. So the focus is on mobility, and the focus is on cooperation, and the focus is on quality. So these are the three main elements. At the same time, you have to see that the program has a budget of 2.44 billion euros for 7 years, so for the period 2021 to 27. It is the biggest amount it has ever had in the past, but the figure looks quite impressive, but it is a drop in the ocean. It is really a very small amount of money. It's something like 1.9% of the European budget. So it's one of the smallest programs which the EU is running. And if you divide this amount by 7 years and by 28 countries, you will come up to much smaller figures than 2.44.
This is for the this is for the media and for the culture strands.
I will come to that in a minute, of course. Yes. And so the main, let's say, reason of this program is to be a supplement to national funding. So that is why the projects, all the projects, media are separately, but in the culture part, all the projects have to be international by definition, and have to have what we call the European added value, meaning basically that they should be focusing on something which is not necessarily done at the European level. That's what Michal has just asked. See that the biggest chunk of the money goes for cinema. This is the media program. I will not dwell on that for a long time because most of you are probably not involved with cinema, are you?
Yeah.
You? Well, we then talk separately.
I would like to, because we're struggling.
Because the main reason of the existence of the media program or sub-program, because it's a part of Creative Europe, is somehow to ensure that European films are distributed more evenly, and they have some support for distribution compared to the Hollywood machine. So that was the main reason from the start, so that there is some kind of support for European films so that it can compete with the Hollywood productions. And that's the underlying reason for the existence of the program. Well, it is a support for distribution, small support for filmmaking, but there is not enough money for that. Support for certain cinemas, which are more focused on art films and author films and so on. And nowadays they are also supporting VOD and games and things like that. So the program is also changing a little bit as time goes by, but the main focus stays on support for distribution. So that's for the cinema. For media, then there is the third part, which is the I don't even know in English what it is called anymore. Does anybody remember? Perhaps Michal when he's back. 13%, this is basically for creative industries and things like that, and there is a novelty. What's the third part called in English? Mezioborová, do you remember? It is I think, the title is quite stupid, so that's why I don't remember it anymore. In any case, it has always been a headache, because people want to have something which is not really culture, not really cinema, and which is linked more to economy and to creative industries and things like that. And now, because the European Commission and the member states got more interested in media as well, media, not media, but media. That means, you know, journalism and so on. So television. So this is something which is also getting funding nowadays from this third part. So now let's focus on our part, which is culture, 31% of the amount of money for the program, which is something like 800 million euros for 7 years for 28 countries. Well, just to be precise, there are some 40 countries participating in the program, but those countries which are not member states of the EU, they pay for their participation. So this is money plus. So the amounts which are directly drawn from the European budget are meant for the support for projects in the 28 member states. That means that in culture we get financing at the end of the day for something like 15% of the projects. So that means that you have something like 80% of the projects which are not financed. So the success rate of the program is rather low because the funding is scarce. So let us now have a look more at the culture part of the program. So there are 6 areas, as you can see, of very different importance. So we can forget about the first one, the pan-European cultural operators. This is something which has been in the previous culture program, and then it was politically banned because this was support for let's say artistic bodies, usually big orchestras or big ensembles in different countries, which were politically supported. So, and they were called, in the old days, they were called ambassadors, and they were the ambassadors of European culture. Then conclusion was made that this is not really, you know, very kind of level playing field for everyone, that political support should be excluded and so on, that there should be same conditions for all. So this was banned, and then came the problem with the European Youth Orchestra, which didn't get funding under my supervision once because they presented a bad project. And the European Youth Orchestra got so mad that they mobilized the people from Cameron to Merkel at that time. And there was such political pressure that we had finally to take them back on board, and that's why this category was recreated. So I don't know how many youth orchestra is definitely there. I think the European Jazz Orchestra as well, and there are some others who are getting this diaphragm. Just for your information, it is something which has nothing much to do with the main rules of the game. Then we have all the others. We will be dealing with them very quickly, one by one. So the most important one is obviously the European Cooperation Project. So this is the main way of getting financing from the Creative Europe program. The aim is to overcome, well, there is a definition, so these are multinational projects. The aim is, you know, to co-create, cooperate, new experiences, innovate, and so on. Mobility is the main element, and well, those who can read Czech, they can see it, but basically it is about cross-border cooperation between different culture operators, make sure that culture is available in different countries, because well, what we experience in Europe, and you know that very well, that people in one country usually have no clue about what is happening in culture in the neighboring countries. And so the aim of these projects is to somehow make this experience available. So it is about added value, it is about mobility, it is about residencies, it is about covering the risks, because normally a cultural operator would not go into it, let's say, take the risk to go cross-border. So this program helps them in a way to do it. Of course, the differences are important. So these are the goals of the program, and they are same for all. This is important. They are the same for all sectors. So we don't have any, let's say, separately defined amounts of money for, let's say, performing arts and music and archaeology and architecture and cultural heritage. Everybody is competing against everybody. So one year you can have a problem that you select many music projects, and the next year it's cultural heritage. So of course there is always kind of we are trying always to strike a little balance so that we don't get projects from one or two sectors which will be the overwhelming majority. But in any case, there is no preset amount for the different subsectors in Europe. Here you see the priorities. It is the public, social inclusion. These are the political priorities, because you have to remember that every time when this program is being created and it becomes a part of the multi-annual financial framework, so it is always preceded by a negotiation between the member states, negotiation with the European Parliament, within the European Parliament. So somehow the program always reflects some of the political priorities of the moment. Like you have here sustainability, and digital transition and things like that. Okay, it is there, but between us nobody really cares. What is important is the quality of the project per se. And it's, the cultural importance, the artistic quality, and the cross-border dimension, the mobility dimension, that is the most important. And of course, these political priorities, they also can change. The program runs for 7 years. We have the meeting of the program committee every year, and for the next year with the work plan for the program, you always can somehow adjust these political priorities, like the support for Ukrainian culture and creative sector was added 2 years ago, or yes, 1.5 years ago, to the 2022 work program.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Are these priorities equal? Or like how?
You always have they are the priorities, so they should be when people are looking into the results of the selection, you always have to be able to prove, if you are the one who is selecting, that at least one of these priorities is reflected in the project. That's it.
Yeah, but I'm asking, like if I write a project that's all about social inclusion and, let's say, international dimension, but does not really involve much public. Like, is that a disadvantage for the project? Or
No. On the contrary, when people are trying to present projects which should somehow to please, the selection, or to somehow make sure that they are selected, and they want to put in all the priorities and everything, this immediately looks suspect. And these projects are quite often, disregarded because of that. And then you have these horizontal themes, which is inclusion and diversity and gender equality, ecological sustainability. Again, you know, they are horizontal, but if they are not included, it's a kind of small added value for the project. But if they are not there and the project per se is good, then it is not necessary to have them there. So, who can apply? So, of course, the program does not concern physical persons. So it's basically legal persons, public or private, which are registered in one of the 39 countries which participate in the program. The requirement is that the organization which is presenting the project should have existed for at least 2 years, and we are checking that. So
there was a question like just before you came. It was asking like whether like they want to apply for international like for Creative Europe, like whether they should like found a new NGO just for that, and I discouraged.
No, this is important. On the contrary, when you want to do something new, it is always good to base it on something which is already existing for at least 2 years, because otherwise, for this kind of reason, you can get excluded even before the evaluation starts. So you present a project and the application. Then usually you should be doing it in cooperation with the Creative Europe desk in the country. These are very small offices. I think in the Czech Republic it's like 3 or 4 people, not more, and who are in constant touch with the European Commission and the agency, and they should be the ones who know best in the country how the program is running, what are the priorities, how the project should be written, and so on. So they can be of quite valuable help. But otherwise, this program is centrally run, so managed. So it is not like Erasmus and so on. You don't have a national agency. There is no money transfer to the country. All the money stays in Brussels, and it is the executive agency which is, you know, running each and every project, because the program is so small that it wouldn't make much sense to distribute the money around and, you know, hire people who would be running in the different countries. And of course, also it is multinational and cross-border by nature. So that is also why all the projects it is difficult somehow to find the state where somehow the project should be based. Then the European Commission is selecting experts, independent experts. There is an open call all the time. Basically, anybody can apply, and these experts are selected by the Commission. Usually, they are experienced culture operators, in some cases even, who do this job. Then the applications are divided among the experts. Every application is evaluated by 2 experts who have to reach a consensus at the end of the day. If they don't reach a consensus, then there is a 3rd expert on standby. But this is cinema. There is a 3rd expert on standby who is then called in and who has somehow, to overcome the discrepancy between the 2 experts and come to a conclusion with one of them. And so there is a whole system, how many points each expert and the 3rd expert, and then you do the average and so on. So this is the internal, let's say, cuisine of the agency. But then the final decision is always taken by the selection committee, and the selection committee is always composed of employees of the executive agency and the European Commission, the officials who do the final selection, and they bear responsibility for the final selection. So you can never blame the expert. The expert is giving an advice, but the final decision is always taken by them. I was just telling during the break colleagues that, which of course sometimes leads to a bit of frustration because you get several hundreds of projects, so you have to go through all of them, even those which the experts have said that they are not worth a penny. But you have to go through all of them, you have to dedicate a bit of time to all of them, so normally the selection committee can go on from morning till evening for 3, 4, 5 days before you have the final outcome. Of every time a special attention is paid to projects which are resubmitted. This is something we are always encouraging people who are not selected to come back with a better project, and so these resubmitted projects are being paid, special attention, and also some, let's say, politically sensitive projects as well. We have had quite some of them. I can now remember well a project which was about reconciliation between Turks and Armenians through music, which was run by the Dresden Philharmonica, a small cooperation project, 250,000 euros, really nothing. And it was nice. They were meeting, there was also some people from former Yugoslavia, which was also about reconciliation, Croatia, Serbia, Armenia, Turkey, all run by a German coordinator. And a huge explosion in Turkey, and big protests and so on, and Turkey left the program because of it. They left the program altogether. And Azerbaijan, which was on the verge of being, included in the program, followed Turkey and didn't participate as well. So you can see that in some cases it's worth having. I don't say that we should have, thrown this project out, but you have to have a very, very good explanation and very good justification of why this project is selected. So, and what is also important, because the people sitting around the table in the evaluation committee have been doing this for years, so they know very well. They know the operators. They know how their projects went in the past and so on. So what is very important, that each project must be always evaluated on its merits. That means, you should not in any way get influenced by all the other things you know. You should really focus on what is written in the application. So, which you can lead to, you can have operators in Europe who have been granted funding many times, and then they just think, well, this time it's going to happen again, they know me already, they know we are good and so on, and they, send a lousy application, and then the committee should say, no, this time somebody else.
The other way around, that like maybe the agency of the European Commission says, like, hey, these guys have been getting the grants for the past 20 years, maybe we should get someone new.
This shouldn't be happening. This shouldn't be happening. This is happening with the youth orchestra. This shouldn't be happening. Okay.
I just have one small question.
Yeah.
About the fields. Is it really makes sense to apply this short film, this production of short film? It's not that much of budget, but it's not that much of visibility also, because it has no potential for distribution, in the cinemas and stuff. It's going to the festivals, so it maybe makes more sense to apply this kind of from one production, this production of a few short films from different directors, or something like that, or is like. Doesn't make sense.
Right, well, we are funding quite some short films every year. Mm-hmm. It all depends on the, let's say, on the artistic quality, mm-hmm. but also these things get the best chances if they are done as co-productions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this is, of course, because you have the international dimension immediately, and then, of course, it is. The way the application is written and the substance of the film, plus the fact that this is a co-production, it can get funding quite easily, I think.
Okay.
If it's fiction, of course.
Yeah.
Not documentaries.
Yeah, fiction.
And with the experts and the commission, like the political appointments, they are political appointments.
Sorry?
Are they political appointees, the people who are in
The experts?
No, the after one.
Yeah.
Never mind. The people who basically does the panel sometimes not upheld what the experts say, or do they change it? Do they overrule the experts?
Right, no, it's usually overlap because the experts, they know very well. So if you get on the table the opinion of the experts, if you have, let's say, the top 20, so they get 90, 95, 80% from both experts or all three. So you just have a look and you see that, you know. But then you are in the gray zone, where you have a certain amount of money and you have projects which have been given between, let's say, 60 and 80, and there, of course, you have to do the selection, because you only have money for, let's say, 2 large ones and 8 or 9 or 10 small ones, but on the table you have 50. So then it is the selection committee who is doing the choice.
And do you, so when you were highlighting the point of it's important to resubmit if one is not successful, is that then, do you get the feedback from the SU? You do, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, of course, it is a resubmission. Well, once we get it, I mean, there's this stamp, resubmission, everybody knows. And
after you get rejected, do you get feedback from, yes?
Yeah. It's like 2 or 3 pages. It's divided into categories like content, you get 20 out of 30 points. Communication, you get 15 out of 20. Relevancy, you get, and there's like it's like 3 pages of text, like where you lost the 5 points.
No, that's perfect.
So you have, as I said, these 2 types of cooperation projects. Small ones where you need just 3 countries from 3 operators from 3 countries, and you get a maximum 200,000 euros for the grant. The project should be running maximum 48 months, and the co-financing by the participants themselves is 20%, and we are offering the full amount which the Commission is offering can be pre-financed. That means you get the money at the beginning of the project. And so these are the small cooperation projects. There are hundreds of them. Some are very good, some are rather invisible. As I was explaining before, there was, I don't know whether this is still the case, but there was quite some pressure from many member states, 8, 9 member states, and also quite a lot from the European Parliament to dedicate even more money to the small cooperation projects. They like small cooperation projects. The puppet theater from one country going overboard and having cooperation with the puppet theater on the other side of the border. This is nice, and somehow it influences the politicians. They can then show that in their constituencies that they have brought some money from Europe to the culture operators and things like that. For us, of course, for the people who are dealing with this at the European level, the large cooperation, the middle-sized cooperation projects are which are 5 countries from 5 organizations, 1 million euros, maximum 70% co-financing. I'm sorry, 70% co-financing is and 80% pre-financing. These projects plus the large ones, where you are entitled to 2 million euros. So these are only projects which have some kind of structuring effect on the sector. If you are in theater or you are in I don't know, in dance or in this kind of rock and pop, then a project which gets 2 million from Europe plus the 20% and has 10, 15 members, this is something which people somehow become aware of in the sector, and you can already work with that. It's not the two puppet theaters coming together every Thursday. So that's...
And
I did not include the large cooperation projects because this year there is no call, so that's why.
And the 3 countries that could be from any country participating
Yes.
in Creative Europe?
Yes.
Not the EU, just any.
No, you can have even 3 candidate countries, there is no problem. You can have Serbia, Albania and Montenegro, and they can go ahead. Usually the experience shows that very often the coordinator is from a country which has been around for some time, because they know better. They are experienced and so on, and they have more money. So you usually have a Dutch or a Swedish or a French operator who chooses partners, let's say the outskirts a little bit of Europe, because of the experience and because of the financial possibilities they have. But this is changing little by little. Shape was the first big example of an operator from a new, but by that time a member state, which was able to coordinate the platform, and there are more and more of them now.
Yeah, because from our side it would be from the Czech going more towards the new, the members of the Creative Europe, Bosnia-Herzegovina and North Macedonia, which then that's fine.
Yeah, of course, there is obviously more interest in this part of Europe to get involved with partners from the Balkans, for instance, than in I don't know, in Denmark. So this is what is happening now. The slide comes from the Czech Creative Europe desk, and you see that the call for the current call for the small and medium-sized cooperation project was published in October, and it will run until the 23rd of January, and then a year later the contract can be signed. So the process is rather long. It's a bureaucratic process, and but I can tell you that compared to other programs, this is still light. Normally things are much more complicated. Now, sorry, perhaps.
Can I have one more? Sorry.
Yes, please, okay.
Yeah, so I just want to curious. So then, if you do this project with the 2 other, like let's say the small one, 2 other organizations, do then the participants in the project, like it's open for like residencies, do the residents then have to be from these 3 countries, or can they be from anywhere?
Well, no, you know, it is possible that you have 3 operators from 3 countries. Normally you would expect that the project would be happening in these 3 countries. But then, if you have some activities in a 4th country, there is no problem.
Yes, I meant, yes, sure, but then I meant like if people from another, so let's say this program would create residencies, opportunities, do have to only apply to people from those countries that are part of the project, or can people from another country apply for the residency? You know what, it would happen still in the
I understand. Yes, this is possible. This is
okay.
possible. You can in the project you can have you know, artists from other countries than the 3 ones who can participate. You can even have artists from outside the EU participating in these projects.
Yeah, I think like there was this. Currently, the artists based in the UK are kind of discouraged from being part. Like the UK-based partners are no longer eligible to be part of Creative Europe, but also the artists from UK.
And they are discouraged by whom? By Europe or by the British Arts Council?
By Europe.
By Europe.
Yeah.
retaliation.
But they are coming back for the science thing, so no? So it's like a hope that they're going to come for this.
They are going to participate in Horizon.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of appetite for participating in Creative Europe as well.
Yeah, but currently, I mean, like with the new grants that run from last year or like 2022, like the UK based, like even the artists were like, nah, not really. Like, maybe if you're based somewhere else, are UK born but have residency somewhere else in Europe, then yes. But if you're like UK based, then you do not apply.
Vengeance, yes. Well, you know, of course, there is always kind of pressure to make things simpler for the operators, because if you have so many small corporations, these are NGOs, small organizations without staff, you know, and so on. So for them, it is rather difficult from the administrative point of view to run the project or even to participate. So people are always thinking about, you know, I think nowadays it's already happening. We have introduced lump sums for many things, so that you don't need to have, you know, invoices for everything, and making things a little bit more, let's say, easier and more digest. But at the same time, of course, this is public money and it's taxpayers' money, so the Commission has to be very vigilant and very strict. That is why these processes take such a long time. So now very briefly we have this literary translation part. Anybody interested in that? No. Okay. This has been around for many years. It is something which is somehow obvious. You know, a union of so many countries. You have 24 official languages. You have all these languages around in the other participating countries and so on. So kind of that you pay a little bit of money to translate books from these countries. You know, it's been around for a long time and it is very successful. It is very good. Publishers are happy. They apply all the time. They make packages of 10 books or 20 books. They make consortia, and they get funding for that. If you go to any library in any smaller member state, you will see that there are really quite an important percentage of books which are translated with the help of this. Not in France or in the UK or in Germany. The tendency is to translate from the bigger languages into the lesser used languages, so that the literary works basically circulate better across Europe. Then we have this new thing in the program. This is something which I have not experienced at all, which is individual mobility. There was quite a lot of demand for this, and because the EU has such a great success with the Erasmus program, and the Erasmus program has been multiplying all over. Today you have Erasmus for firemen, and you have Erasmus for policemen, you have Erasmus for whatever, you know, vegetable growers or whatever. So there was this demand that also culture operators have their own kind of Erasmus. So there is a certain amount of money which is dedicated to that. The big question was who is going to run it, because normally for Erasmus you have the national agencies in all participating countries. The executive agency in Brussels was not really equipped for that, you know, to deal with so many individual mobilities. So finally, there was a call which was published, and the Goethe House won the call. So it's the Goethe House who is running this forward, the European Commission. And I don't really know. I don't have the figures. It is basically artistic stays, mobilities and residences.
But it's also for the professionals, not just for the artists?
For cultural operators, as we say in the jargon.
It's currently open, I mean, like it's reopened now, it's the second call is open, and it's pretty straightforward to get. It's not a lot of money, it's basically travel money, and I think it's like, depending on the distance which you travel, is 300 to 700 euros.
Yeah.
It's more if you travel by sustainable means, meaning by train or bus.
Bicycle.
Or bicycle.
Yeah.
And it's like flat rates. I mean, you don't have to provide any receipts or anything. You just you want to travel for a residency or for a conference in a different country, you apply in advance and you get like 700 or 1,000 euros.
Get some pocket money and you go.
Yes, and then you go and you just send like a one A4 report when you return, and that's that.
Yeah. So this is a novelty, a new aspect of the program. Now, besides that, yeah, you have some figures here. You are right. I forgot. So there were 7,000 people by 2025, profiting from this mobility. 350 euros for the travel and 75 per day. 3 weeks maximum. Now the European platforms, which is a specific study which was introduced with the beginning of the previous funding period, and 2013 was it? 2014, yeah. You are right, 2014. And at the beginning, the focus was to support emerging artists. That was the main thing, and that cultural operators from different countries would get together, and they would create opportunities for emerging artists to start international careers, so that at the beginning of their career they already have the opportunity to work abroad or to perform abroad or to meet people from abroad and so on. And so there is always a strong coordinator and several other organizations. Normally there have to be at least 12 organizations which participate in a program, and the grant is something like 2 million, 2.1 million, isn't it?
Yes, no,
yes, 2.1 million for 3 years, and a little bit more for the 4-year second. So there are 2 calls during every 7-year multi-annual financial framework period. So 2 calls per 7 years, for 3 years and 4 years. Now we have, of course, MeetFactory was one of the best examples, and SHAPE is a kind of flagship for the European Commission as well. There is this Aerowaves dance platform, of which Tanec Praha is a very important member. There is Live Europe, rock and pop venues across Europe, which is run by the Ancien Belgique in Brussels, which is part of the Acropolis in Prague, is a member of that. And there are several others nowadays. For us, for the Commission, this was a very good invention, and we think that this is something which is worth developing. Obviously, because it is expensive. Normally, they would be funding many more platforms than they really are. But it is a good experience, and it's going to continue. That's for sure. Anything on platforms? Yeah, and then we end up with the networks. Then contrary to the platforms, the networks have been around for ages, since the culture program was created. And so these are networks of European, creative and arts organizations which can be quite representative, like different arts councils in different countries, but they can also be, you know, very sector based or sector oriented. So these networks are rather different in nature. You can have a network of the different cultural centers run by the member states, and they have a unique network. You can have the Museums Association, which is run by the Neues Museum in Berlin, which is very strong and very important. You must have heard about Europa Nostra, which is the big organization which is bringing together all people involved in cultural heritage protection across Europe. Now, you know, in music there are something like 7 of them, starting with a very old kind of jeunesse musicale, you know, art schools or music schools across Europe, very traditional ones, and ending with hip hop and rock and pop and whatever. So these networks are important for us because they have a certain power of advocacy. You know, we were just talking about this before the start, that for instance, when we were discussing the new copyright directive, we realized that, for instance, Google has something like 260 lobbyists in Brussels, and the sectors which were directly involved in culture and arts had nobody. So, you know, then the discussion becomes a bit one-sided. So once this was started to being, you know, hot, then we called to the networks, and they came, those which were involved, and they sat opposite the Google people and the other people, and they got involved in the discussion. So that is one of the reasons why we think that it is important to give some money to organizations which bring together culture operators from certain sectors, so that they can have their voice heard at the European level or even at national level. They are, you know, if I don't know, the people from Europa Nostra, whenever they come, wherever they come, they make, I don't say headlines, but people are interested. You know? So we are. It's quite important that the European public money is, you know, somehow also invested in the existence of these networks. Yeah, I remember very well, just before ending, a little anecdote that when we were creating the Circo Strada network, which is a network for the people who are involved in new circus, I had a visit by a guy who was president of an association of the, how do you say this in English? Dompteurs in French. Those who, you know, trade and perform with wild animals in circus. And this is something which we were not willing to support. And he was lobbying the Commission that they also want to be involved in this. But it is true that he had bites all over his face, the guy. Very experienced dompteur. So what I wanted to say before I finish, and we can still of course discuss, what is very important is when you are preparing projects, and above all cooperation projects as well, literature as well, and some others, that people are very much learning from each other. It is not very often people just come up with something very kind of original and new, and it is important to see what has already been funded in the past and, you know, draw from that. And I was surprised to see that quite a few people use the portal, which is the Info Funding Tenders Opportunities at the website of the Commission. So be aware that there is such a website. It is quite user unfriendly. I must say, as many of these portals of these institutions are. But if you take a bit of time and patience, then you get there, and you can read the results of all the projects which have been funded over the years, and you can see what has already been done, you know, in the sector in which you are interested. You can even, you know, sometimes get inspiration from that. You can see that you can go in some direction further than they already went. You can find partners, of course, on this website, so that if you have something in mind, that you get somebody who has already been doing something similar or having some kind of experience. So we haven't had the opportunity to talk from which organizations you are, whether they are running this type of projects, but if you do, then good luck with Creative Europe.
Great, thanks. I have one.
Yeah.
For a change. So if there is so basically one question is on this. Is there potential for applying with like a pilot project that is basically, that doesn't have to have some kind of like a long-term vision, it's just to try something out on some topic, and that's possible there.
Yeah, but
you
you have 48 months, but you can have a project which runs for a year.
Yeah.
There is no problem, you know, if it is intense, focused, you know, and there is some kind of a logical deadline, you know, that you want to achieve something and present it, then it's fine. Yeah.
One very usual question, or basic, but is there hidden criteria on the representativity of the countries involved? Like, I mean, I know usually we always try to balance, you know, number of Central European countries or new member, old members with the. But I mean, it's not never written anywhere that we should do it. But
well, you know, it's not. It is. We have not yet involved artificial intelligence in the selection of these projects. So there are humans around the table. So, as I said, you know, you get several hundreds of applications on the table, and then, as I was explaining before, you have the gray zone, and you have a certain amount of money and a certain number of, let's say, more than average good cooperation projects. So at this moment, when you see what you have already selected, what is there, you have the overview of what is happening, then if you have a project from, I don't know, Moldova, which has never been there before, and it is scoring quite well, then perhaps you will select it at the detriment of a project from Sweden, which has been there, which has been receiving funding for some time. And they are scoring more, and they have the same, let's say, qualities and so on. So this can play a role, and when people are discussing around the table. But this is really internal cuisine. But you know, you have to have some kind of, or as I said, if you have too much music and too little theater, then you will go for a theater project and not for another music project if they score the same. But otherwise, no, it is always on the merits of the project.
For many years, the Slovenian project scored very well. Why was that?
Well, you know, the reason was very simple. Because the Slovenian Culture Ministry gave a lot of money to the Creative Europe desk. And the Creative Europe desk hired the best people, and they were helping with the writing.
Okay.
And with the thinking, and with the partners, you know, and linking, and so on. They were extremely active. So that was it. Small country. They know everybody. All the cultural people know them. They know everyone. They know all the artists, and they are really thinking 2-3 years in advance. What are we going to do? You know, what else could we, and whom could we contact, and so on. So it is this type of activity which is very, very helpful.
Maybe you don't have, since you have not been there for 5 years now, but like, what is the relationship between EU and Switzerland, for example? Maybe you can terms of collaboration and co-funding, and because we have actually Prague has reached out like, hey, how can we be part of SHAPE and how can we work together? And
yeah, Switzerland. That's a sore question. I don't know, as you said, I don't know what happened since 2020. But as long as I was there, I had several negotiations with the Swiss, and we badly wanted them in the program because they would have been paying quite a lot, and you know they would have been a really net contributor to the program. But the problem was that they did not know who could sign for that. Because in the decentralized canton system, nobody is responsible for culture at the central level. So we would have to have a contact with all the cantons, and they were not able to find a way. You know, that was one of the reasons. There were other reasons, because Switzerland has difficult relations with the EU in other areas as well, and this was somehow being linked to other things and so on. But one of the reasons was this, that they did not have a representative at the federal level in Bern.
Now is actually Prague, which is a federal body in Switzerland. Like they are trying to hello SHAPE, do you want maybe any Swiss festival?
It's a shame that they are not there.
Yeah.
It's really.
I know they reached a deal with Live Europe somehow, like a Swiss venue working with part of Live Europe for next year.
Well, you can have a participant in this or that activity, but you can't have them in a structured way. Okay?
Actually, the same kind of question in platforms and networks, like the stress on the international cooperation, like outside EU and all that is important, like to have those international partners involved.
In networks, yes.
In networks. And in platform as well? Or?
There is this new call that Mr. Barták mentioned that is opened a week ago or 2 weeks ago. And in the proposed, or like the call, there is a priority in strengthening relationship outside the EU. So,
yeah.
Which has not been there previously, but it's a new thing.
But it has been always possible and advised. But
yeah.
I was just wondering, how real is that? Like, do they really expect?
It depends on the nature of the project. For instance, in the networks you have UNIC. UNIC, you have the Goethe House, you have Alliance Française, you have the British Council. They are by nature international, and they go out, you know, and as a network they go out as well, and they do activities in the name of the EU. So this is their, you know, one of the main tasks they have.
You had a question? No?
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Good luck.